earlier today, I believe it was tomorrow the clinic will be visiting ضيعك فرحونة جزين روم لبعة عبرة حول الفيضة والنعامة as well في العقطانيد as well as القصة مظبوط. وon Friday الكلينيك will be ببطريركية أنطلياس بفريح روح بحرجل اهمس رعشين أو رشين وجعيتا as well. So if you live around those areas and you would like to get your free test, please go ahead. بعتقد إذا ماني غلط دايما الكلينيك بتكون مقابل مركز البلدية بالمنطقة. Okay. Now, one more thing as well. اليوم وجه تحية صغيرة ل our alumni LAU, so LAU Alumni Association specifically, in particular today in Montreal chapter, they actually got in contact with me yesterday. They said hello, they advertised webinars as well. So we wish them luck and we are very thankful إنه هني عم بيكونوا متواجدين معنا. Hopefully other chapters globally around the world بيقدروا يتواصلوا معنا as well. For now, guys, our speaker for today is Ms. Maya Mattar, who is actually an instructor in LAU Continuing Education. Maya is a coaching psychologist and an ambassador for the Mental Toughness Model, which is the topic of interest for today. Maya has over 17 years of experience, by the way, and she has coached more than 10,000 people. And when I'm talking about people specifically, I'm talking about business leaders, I'm talking about executives, and so on. Now, globally, there has been a fair bit of research and case studies that have actually related mental toughness to better performance along with positivity, increased well-being, and so on. So really, guys, mental toughness is something that is of interest, something that is important if we aspire to achieve great heights. In today's presentation, the title, Developmental Resilience and Toughness Amid the Current Crisis, Maya will tackle several issues, one or two of which would include what is the mental toughness model, she's going to explain why mental resilience and toughness are actually needed more than any time before as well. We will talk about how can we apply the mental toughness model to our strategies in leadership positions in organizations and at the individual level as well. And in addition, we will identify the key skills needed to become mentally. So Maya, the floor is all yours, and please recall everybody that you can use the chat to get Maya with you throughout the presentation and obviously towards the end as well. So in the meantime, Maya, you would like to, or would you like to have the floor to yourself?
Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you, LAU, for having me today. And thank you as well, Sherbel and team. This is a great opportunity for me. Actually, this week has been amazingly full of opportunities, as I've started after 17 years doing some work and sharing knowledge with the Lebanese community. So I'm extremely thrilled and very proud to be part of today and part of this initiative of LAU. Thank you once again for having me. And I hope today I will be able to share my knowledge and my experience specifically in the topic that we are going to be discussing. So please, I encourage you to share your questions with me in the question box. The last 15 minutes, I will be answering your questions. And if we don't manage to answer all of them, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me following this webinar on any of the social media platform that you can find me. So to start with, I love to share one of the analogies that we have been talking about all the time, and many people have been saying the same thing on and on and on. They're saying we are all in the same boat. I don't know if so many of you agree or disagree to this saying, to this analogy. Do you think, guys, something to think about, are we all really in the same boat? What do you think? Are we all really in the same boat? Well, I would tell people that we are not actually in the same boat, but we are in the same river. The thing is that every person is reacting differently to this unusual circumstances we are going through. However, we have the choices to make, and we have the choice to choose which boat we want to ride in during this crisis. And this is the main core discussion that we're going to have. How do we have this choice? And how, if we don't have the choice, how do we actually develop to reach this choice as leaders, as individuals, as parents, as people, as a human being going through a worldwide crisis that never happened before. So actually every day we are in lockdown, and it has been long for so many. I'm not sure in Lebanon if it's more than 40 days now, I think. For me, it's been more than 11 weeks. Actually, we've been in lockdown here. So this is having a huge impact on people's mental health. I know so many organizations were very prompt, were very fast to supply, softwares, to switch into, virtual, to really take so many measures to support their people virtually. However, we're having a lot, this crisis is having a lot of impact on people's mental health. And there is a huge amount of mental health issues are being recorded worldwide, and it's really skyrocketing. This is why we turn to looking at this very important topic, mental health, specifically that lots of uncertainty being created by what's going on, and the situation is really fueling anxiety, and people are worried. People are worried. We need to look at reality as well. We cannot just talk theory and talk what we should do, what we shouldn't do. We need to look at reality. People are worried about their job losses. People are worried about their future aspirations. Lots of issues are emerging, related to loneliness as well. Especially among some people who are really vulnerable, that have been forced to isolate themselves. While we are trying to make sense, all of us, of these current situations that never occurred before, and while no one has answers, we turn to evidence-based practices, researches, models that have been proven to be effective in similar or worked during similar situations that we are going through. And today we're going to look through that, and I'm going to introduce to you a model that really changed my life since 2008, so about 12 years now. So let's just go through the agenda very quickly together. We're going to discuss what is resilience, really the flavor of the month, this topic, and if we can actually build it. We're going to define mental toughness and why it is important for us. We will look through the model while defining it. And we will look as well, we will have, if you want, a taster on how we can develop mental toughness that will help us as well power up our resilience. And the last 15 minutes, we're going to have some questions and answers to discuss together. So to start with, what is resilience? I mean, if you actually go on Google now and type it, you will find many definitions. And resilience have been, as I said, the flavor of the month, and is a very popular topic now because it's the definition of the ability to return to the original form, if we're talking about something, or usual shape after being bent, stretched, or pressed. It's as well the capacity to recover from difficulties. It's an ability to recover or adjust easily to misfortune or change, and as well the ability to bounce back. So basically, if you fall, you bounce back from adversity. It is the strength and speed of our response to adversity. So this is really the definition of resilience. But so many people, during coaching or during my, when I'm talking with the clients or during workshops, they ask me this question: do you think I'm resilient? Or how much resilience do you think I have? You can actually check your resilience. However, I want you to ask yourself a question today to really check if you are resilient. And I hope one day we will have a big case study for the Lebanese community, because I believe that I haven't come across a resilient country or more of a resilient community than the Lebanese community. It's true that I left 17 years ago, but it's a perfect example of resilience. So if you think about, you've been through a difficulty or a loss of certain type, you lost your job or you lost something, and you were able to continue your life, then to a certain extent you are resilient. So we are all equipped with some sort of resilience. It varies the level between one person and the other, and it gets impacted as well by the circumstances. As well, another questions come to mind is, can we build resilience? Yes, we can build resilience. It is a skill set that we can develop throughout our life. So it's not like really a one-time off, okay, give me a pill of resilience, I'm facing a problem. No, it's something that we build across our lives. However, resilience by itself, it's about bouncing back. Okay, we went back. Now, what's next? This is why today I want to introduce for you the mental toughness model. What is actually mental toughness? So many people, they associate it with really being this macho, being this, tough, but it's not about this. Mental toughness is actually a personality traits which determines to a certain extent why we say, in some parts. We say in some parts because we're really a complex creature. Our personality is really complex. So mental toughness does not really explain everything. It explains in some parts how individuals, when exposed to stressors, to pressures and challenges, irrespective of the prevailing situations. This definition was identified by Professor Peter Clough and Dr. Isaac in 2011, two gentlemen that I had the pleasure to work with since 2008 from the UK. And they defined that mental toughness is a personality trait that determines in some part how we behave or how do we react to stressors and pressures. And by the way, this is not actually a new concept completely or idea that is just created. This takes us back to 2,500 years ago. If you look at Plato, when he talked about Plato, the famous Greek philosopher that talks about fortitude. As well, if you look back to 2,000 years back, the Stoicism as well, it's about, not being derailed when things goes wrong. So it's not really something new. However, it got developed and we have a model that we can follow. And this model, why it is important. So if you ask me today why mental toughness is important, so this is the right time to actually develop mental toughness and to look back on how I can become more mentally tough. And now we have the time because we are by ourselves, and most of the people, they took a step back and they are really reflecting on life. So many people, they are saying that after this, I'm going to become a new person. So we have the right time now to look at these things in our personality and how we can become a better version of ourselves. So why mental toughness is actually important? Let me explain that. And I know so many of you, people development and HR and senior leaders, and perhaps the students that are with us here today, that would like to have a better understanding or would like to really look at things from a different perspective. So this topic explain that we know very well that most personality traits describe and help us assess how we act when things happen. They describe our behavior. So mental toughness describe and assess how we think when something happens. So it's actually about mental response, not the behavior. So here the mental toughness look at the mental response. So what's going on in our head before we actually behave. So this helps us to understand why a person or why ourselves, if we are reflecting, why we behave or we act in a certain way when something happens. Mental toughness explains a very significant part of our response and our attitude towards the event, which is really, really important and key. Now, our attitude towards what's happening is going to determine a lot of things that are going to, how are going to go in our life. There can be other factors as well. We're not pretending here that it explains everything. So there are other factors that adds to the mental toughness element. Our ability, our motivation, our knowledge, the circumstances, our preferences, and lots of other aspects of personality. Even the amount of support of the community around us, of the support that we are getting from people around us. All of this can as well add into that. Our behavior, we need to remember that our behavior can be different in different situations because we respond to the different settings. Let me explain this a little bit further. My way of thinking, my mental response is the same. However, I may behave differently in different situations. A simple example we always use, it's a funny one, but it's true. For example, if somebody is having chewing gum next to me, it irritates me. So my mental response to this is irritating me, right? However, my behavior about that in different settings might be different. So if I'm with my children at home, I might say, just remove it from your mouth, stop doing that. But if I'm at work with some new colleagues or something, I might hold my behavior back. I hope this explained it for you. So this is the difference between, most personality traits and the mental toughness. But the way you think is generally the same. So if something irritates you in one setting, it will irritate you in another setting. But you may manage your response differently. And this is what we're talking about managing our responses. Let's discuss as well why it is actually important. And there are plenty of studies. There is even more than 100 peer-reviewed papers that have been published, more than 50,000 people that have been assessed. There's plenty of norms. I'm happy to share with you the research studies as well, offline, if you would like to dig deeper into this topic. But let's discuss a little bit why mental toughness is important. Studies have showed a very strong link between mental toughness and performance. So it accounts for 25% of the variation in performance, as well to agility, adoption of a positive behavior, dealing with change, as well as well-being. So better mental health, more happiness and contentment. The fourth one is related to aspiration, more ambition to do well, as well employability. People who are mentally tough, they are not worried about, job losses and about future aspirations. These four things, they translate into positive factors related to employability, openness to change, transition, retention, social mobility for people, who moves countries, who moves jobs, motivation, stress management, as well as mental health. I'm not trying to sell you the topic, but I'm somebody who actually started learning about mental toughness in 2008. And I told Doc the other day, the gentleman who is leading AQR International, who's a company as well who champions this, I told him that all the work that I've done since 2008 to develop my mental toughness has prepared me to what's going on. And I'm going to reiterate about this a little bit later when we talk about how we develop mental toughness. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about the 4 C's. So mental toughness, how do we describe it? We describe it according to the 4 C's. We call them 4 C's because they all start with the letter C. The first element I'd like to discuss with you is control. What do we mean by control? Control is the extent to which we feel in control of ourselves and our circumstances. So to do what we have to do, actually, it doesn't mean we are completely in control, because nobody can. We cannot be in control of everything, but it means we are sufficiently in control. Mentally tough individuals, they understand that I can do something about that. I can do something about my life. So mentally tough people, they actually feel in control to a certain extent. However, the mentally sensitive, so we don't say mentally tough and mentally weak, we say mentally tough and mentally sensitive. The mentally sensitive individuals, they do not understand that, what are the things I can control? So they try to control everything. So they become frustrated and they try to control the uncontrollable. Whereas the people who are mentally tough, they know what they can control to a certain extent. And this is what differentiates people who, are mentally tough and mentally sensitive. So life control, we have 2 sub-elements here in the control. We have life control and we have emotional control. When it comes to life control, it's the can-do attitude. I can make it happen. And the emotional control, it describes the extent to which I can manage my emotions. We cannot control our emotions. We need to really realize that. However, we can manage our emotional responses to situations in a way that suits this particular situations. So this is in terms of the first element. Let's talk a little bit about the second C, which is the commitment. Commitment here describes do I like to work towards goals? Do I like achieving goals? Do I like setting goals? Do I keep up with my goals? So this is the commitment in general. But here we look at two sub-elements or sub-components. The first one is the goal orientation, which is the extent to which I like working towards my goal. Right now, it is different. I can imagine things differently. People who are really goal oriented, they can set goals, they are goal oriented, and they like it. They find this actually challenging and they like to do it. The achievement oriented people, not just setting goals, but achieving them. So it's like really making a promise and keeping it. So many people, they make promises. So goal orientation, sometimes they set goals, but it doesn't mean they meet them. Achieving goals is people who actually work towards achieving things. So they can feel the satisfaction from actually reaching achievement. And we know as well, accomplishment, as per Seligman, is one of the main elements that contribute to well-being. So really accomplishment feeling, it really helps people feel good about it. And even despite the circumstances and despite the challenges, they work actually to achieve them. But we need to think as well about these current circumstances. People who are in this area, they might be really affected now because it's very difficult to put goals for the long term. So they might be, frustrated about that. So the people who like to achieve goals, the people who works towards goals, might be a little bit frustrated about that. We're going to talk what kind of things they can do to avoid feeling this frustration at this particular time. Because to be honest, how can we put goals now when we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow? So it's a little bit challenging, this situation. Now, you might be asking yourself or ask me, what is the difference between mental toughness and resilience? You are describing resilience here. And that's true, because the first two elements I described for you, the control and commitment, they actually describe resilience. So let's look a little bit together about mental toughness and resilience before I continue talking about the other four elements. So resilience is often defined as a function of control and commitment. Resilience represents the ability to deal with an adverse situation and still complete some of all of what you had set out to do. This is as well another addition to the definition. It's how you respond when you have to do something. You have to do it. This is how you respond. Mental toughness here adds two more components, which are challenge and confidence. I wanted to mention something here as well about the element of challenge. In the 1979, Susan Kobasa, I don't know if somebody came across Susan Kobasa, if some of you really looked at the psychological hardiness concept, she discovered that some people who are resilient, they actually are not high achievers. And this is where they digged further. So people are resilient, yeah, they stand their ground, they bounce back, life goes on for them. However, she looked at the high achievers that are resilient but high achievers, and those particular people, they displayed another quality, and this quality she called it a challenge. And this is why mental toughness added the challenge element as well as the confidence, and this introduced a more active element, because resilience by itself is a passive concept. So here the mental toughness added the challenge and the confidence, which gives as well a more positive outlook and a more positive approach to the mental toughness. It's how resilience, it's how you respond when you want to do it. Resilience is an element of mental toughness. I always say that, resilience is what enables us to survive, to bounce back. However, mental toughness enables us to thrive And I call that to bounce forward, but as well, not always, because there are other circumstances that can play a big role as well, as we said. So to continue talking a little bit about challenge, a challenge is about, risk orientation as well as learning orientation. Let me explain this a little bit further. Risk orientation, it means you are prepared to step into the unknown. You embrace challenges, you're happy to try new things, you're happy to, meet new people, go into a new job. Some want to do little things, others might want, to do more. Now we are in the middle of a dramatic change. We are facing the new normal. They are calling it a new normal, although I don't see anything normal about the new life we're stepping into it. So some people, despite what we're going through, they see opportunities and they take risks and try something new. I want to stop here and give really a factual example. I mean, not to promote somebody or to do any promotions, but I really observe and I really admire so many people in Lebanon as well, how they're behaving in this current crisis. And it's not only the crisis of, the COVID-19, there is, a combination of crises that the country is going through. I have a colleague, by the way, who is an alumni from LAU, and I don't know if she's on the group here, but if she allows me, I would share the example. A colleague of mine who has a restaurant that, during the crisis, most restaurants have shut down. And, they're just waiting for what's going on. Some of them, they're trying to do some deliveries. Whereas, this particular person, if she allows me to say the name, Mon Maki Amwa, immediately they switched. They started an online, cooking classes for sushi and delivering to the people. At the same time, giving donation to support the community. So this kind of behavior explains this type of people taking the challenge forward and to a next level, which really taking risk and trying something new. But here as well, so many people, they take risks. And by the way, I salute her, Nadaad. She's a colleague, an old friend, and I really admire her resilience. So many people, they take risks. However, there is another element that is very important in terms of challenge, is the learning orientation. It's okay to take risk. It's okay to try something new. However, it's only effective when we reflect, when we learn from our experiences. Because taking risk, so many people, they take risk and then, they don't make it and they say, oh, khalas, I'm not going to do it again, or I'm just going to give up. I will never do it again. Others will say, what can I learn from this? What can I do better? How can I improve? Could I do it differently? So they think as well about, let me have another go by doing it in a different way, instead of just waiting or just letting go their challenge or their goals. And this is very important now. This is really, really important. I find challenge a very important element at the moment, because we are all exposed to this challenge at this particular time. If we sit during this crisis, just close our eyes or wait for it to pass. I waited 1 week, 2 weeks, but it didn't pass. We are in week number 12 now. So if we sit during this crisis, close our eyes, pretend that, it's not happening, or, it will pass, we will not learn anything from it. This is why learning orientation is very important when we are challenging ourselves and learning and stretching ourselves and really trying something new and stepping out of our comfort zone. I'm really cautious of the time. I want to leave enough space for the questions. So I'm going to move to the next one. But before that, I want to mention that the challenge here, this particular components bring a notion of positivity to the resilience, because, resilience is going to get you through a situation, but you are capable of getting further if you challenge yourself. So moving on to confidence, and this one is very important, and we see it a lot being impacted at this stage, because people suddenly they are alone, so they really rely on themselves. So what is confidence here? The component of confidence, it's about self-belief. I have the ability not only to cope, but to deal with what's going on around me. And here it's divided into two. Confidence and ability. Some of us have a lot of abilities, but if we do not believe in those, we will not go anywhere. Yeah, we will not be able to use them. Some people, they have these abilities, and I know so many colleagues, you know, they have the ability, but they're not believing in themselves, so they're not getting anywhere. In times like this, even if we have a lot of abilities, the shock, if we are really low on confidence and ability, the shock might actually put us off, you know, and make us think, can I really do it? Can I not really do it? Whereas if we are strong in confidence and ability, we can actually, you know, identify these abilities and move forward with confidence. The next one, which is as well a very important element and really played a big role in the isolation, is the interpersonal confidence. Here, it's about dealing with the world around you, the ability to influence others, to sell your ideas, to reach out to others, and to really move forward by, you know, the progress of the community, by the support of the community. I still see so many people going on, you know, meetings and stuff. They don't even want to switch the cameras. They're not really reaching out. They're not really asking questions. They're not really asking for support. And here the interpersonal confidence plays a big role in that. So this is a brief explanation about the mental toughness. I tried to describe it as simple as possible. Actually, I can talk days about that. And we talk a lot about this topic, hopefully in the future with the LAU. We had an amazing program set up for mental toughness. Unfortunately, that it got delayed a little bit, but inshallah we will, after all this is gone, we will move forward with that. So moving on, I would like to show you a sample. Some of you might be wondering, how do I assess? What does that mean? So let's put all of this into a practical example right in front of us. This is a report of a mental toughness assessment. We do actually have a psychometric assessment that assesses people level of mental toughness. And it's measured on a STEM, which is a 1 to 10. 1 to 3 are the sensitive areas. From 4 and 7 are the, you know, the usual biggest chunk of the population that scores around this area. And 8 to 10 are fairly high on their mental toughness. I just want to mention one thing as well, other than we are mentally tough or mentally sensitive. Mentally tough people, it doesn't mean they are, you know, untouchable and they are really the best. Sometimes their mental toughness, the high level of mental toughness in certain areas can play against them. For example, we see a lot of leaders now that they are super committed, high on commitment, and they push their teams that are not as committed as them. So self-awareness here is very important. We'll talk a little bit about this later in the development part. But now, I want you to understand the difference between mentally tough, and mentally sensitive. This person, this profile we are looking at right in front of us is the profile of a person who is fairly mentally tough, which is on a 7 on this case. So if you look the first line, he's a 7, which is he's fairly mentally tough. This particular person, and by the way, this is a true profile, is a very successful leader. He is very good with his team. He has good relationship with his team, and he's a fairly high achiever. But we need to remember that people can be mentally tough in some areas and sensitive in other areas. This real profile explained that very, very clearly. This is somebody who suddenly, found it difficult to cope or to deal with some of the aspects of his work because of the lockdown. So even before the lockdown, that he was, high achiever doing things, then after the lockdown, he found himself really not being able to deal with so many aspects of his work. Although he had a successful relationship with his team, however, after the lockdown, he actually put them under a lot of pressure. And if you look with me at the emotional control, we can explain that. This person, emotional control is a 3, which is fairly sensitive. So this particular person, his emotion started dictating how he is behaving when he's been put under pressure. And if we look as well at the other aspect, he's 9 on life control, he's 8 on commitment, 10 on risk, high on confidence as well. However, in emotional control, he's 3. So you can imagine now his emotions are dictating his behavior with his team, as well as his positive learning orientation is a 2. So he is driven, but not stopping and taking a step back and learning on how I can do this better. So this profile, it tells how can a person be sensitive in some areas and tough in other areas. And this is where I invite you to really think between you and yourself, and maybe on a piece of paper next to you, try to identify in which areas I am, mentally tough, and in which areas I am mentally sensitive. It's not really going to be super accurate as the test. However, it can, give you a brief idea about, where you might stand if you do a little of self-reflection. So as well, I want to mention one thing you might be wondering about and asking, does mentally tough, and this question I've been getting a lot lately, does mentally tough leaders can be compassionate? Because now in this particular time we are going through, we need compassionate leaders. We need people to feel. Well, guys, let me tell you, mentally tough leaders can be compassionate in a way if they are aware, if they are, emotionally literate and they know themselves, because they need to be aware of what's going on around them. And once again, it goes back to self-awareness and ability to really look deeply at ourselves and see where do we stand from all of these, components. How can we develop mental toughness? I just have, 10 minutes to go. Let's talk a little bit in this 10 minutes about how can we develop mental toughness. Let me tell you something. Many of the interventions that we do during mental toughness development workshop, or during coaching, or during different interventions, most of them, they are drawn from the CBT, the cognitive behavioral therapy, from the psychology and the positive psychology, from the sports coaching, because resilience is really key in sports coaching, from NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and lots of different, combination of interventions. They all work, but they don't work for everyone. Imagine I'm telling a CEO who's above, 60, who never practiced yoga, to tell him go practice yoga to develop your emotional control. It doesn't work. So we really need to look at which intervention fits with this particular person. So it's not just one size fits all. However, we base it on different core elements that contribute into the mental toughness development. One of them is increased in self-awareness. It means, what do I do? Why do I do what I do? Reflection, actions, choosing to do something, preparation and selection, as well as to practiceful purposes, which is practicing the new approach until it becomes a new habit. And this as well, I encourage you to look at Richard's Boyatzis about, self-directed learning as well, how I can identify my ideal self and really look at my actual self, who I am, look at my strengths, look at the gaps, and put a development as well, practice until it makes perfect, because discipline really outgoes talent and smartness, guys. We need discipline. You need the change, you need discipline. Without discipline, you cannot get anywhere, even if you're talented, even if you are smart. So what do we look at here? Just briefly, the different interventions, they are really around 6 areas we do. One is self-awareness, anxiety control, goal setting, positive thinking, visualization, attentional control. And there's plenty of exercises under each. I'll just take you briefly through a couple of exercises. For example, if we're looking at anxiety control, if we need to look at anxiety, we do exercises such as, focus on what you can control. We do breathing techniques. Even if you don't meditate, you don't practice yoga, which are really amazing practices, I encourage you to do. However, if this is not for you, You can just sit down when you have anxiety and breathe deeply for 10 times. You know, so many times you heard your mothers and people around you telling you when you are upset or angry, عد للعشرة, right? You heard this عد للعشرة. Now I will say breathe للعشرة. So breathe until you count 10. Sit down in a quiet place, breathe 10 times, let this oxygen come to your head and really let it go. Another thing we encourage people to practice is self-compassion. I always tell people who are really hard on themselves, do you talk to your kids like that? Do you talk to your kids in this way? So don't be too hard on yourself. Have some compassion, and it's okay to be okay from time to time. Meditation is very good. I encourage you to go back to prayers. Since this started, I practice praying more and more. We really need to feel connected spiritually as well. Limit your exposure to news, please, guys. Look at trustworthy resources and set a time to look at the news. Don't just sit all day long on the news because it really fuels anxiety. Moving quickly to the next one, which is positive thinking, practicing gratefulness. Look at what are the 3 things that you are grateful for. Another technique we use, some of you might have heard me talking about this. Nada, if you're here as well, another Nada Hawa. Look at your pets and pets, you know, change your performance interfering thoughts into performance enhancing thoughts. Lots of different things, identifying your positives. Visualization, imagine things, imagine success, change your environment. I changed my office now. I've been working from home for 8 years and you know things have been good, but since the lockdown things have changed dramatically in my house with the kids here every day. I changed my office. I sit now with a window in front of me. Go through pictures from previous holidays, imagine your next holidays, really look at this visualization of positive things. Self-awareness is really important. If you practice journaling, I encourage you to do so all the time. Reflect, sit with yourself. If you get the chance to do the mental toughness test as well, it's really a good tool to really reflect. Feel free to get in touch with me if you would like to do the test. Get support from people around you. We should have some humility to say, I'm not okay, help me. And there's plenty of people offering help, offering support for free. So it doesn't mean you need to be, you know, paid. Ask your manager, ask your, you know, supervisor at the university, ask somebody you look up to and say, I need help. You need to be aware of your feelings and you need to be aware when you need help to ask for help. Please ask for help. Goal setting is really important and we spoke about it. Please set small goals for your days. I know we cannot really project the future and this is very difficult at this time. Set small goals for your day and make sure as well, and this is very important, I want you to listen to me because I know so many people are really going through this. Productivity is not being busy and living in a chaotic environment, busy. There is a new trend now that we're talking about, which is panic working. You should not be panic working to show that you are productive. Always remember, being busy is not really always related to productivity. Productivity is not being busy, it's being busy doing what will move you closer to your goal. Set that goal and chunk it into small goals and divide it into the day. And if you achieve something during the day, celebrate it, be happy about it, even if you achieve a small little thing. Attentional control, which is the focus. We all need the focus and we're having difficulties focusing lately. That's why I encourage you to set boundaries. For example, before I start working, I kiss the kids. I say, bye-bye, mama is going to work. Although I'm in the same house, but they understand that now it's not their time. This is boundaries. Set boundaries in your workspace. Minimize interruption. Some of you might have seen this. I've done a little trick with my kids. I have a 15 years old daughter. We've done a little home spa. I show you this one. This is a beautiful box to shut our distraction and the interruption. We can actually put our phones in this phone spa and put them inside when we are together or when we are having a really serious work to do and we do not want interruption. Being mindful as well, practicing mindfulness is really super helpful and I encourage you to explore it as well as a practice. Practice moment of silence. In Lebanon, you have really the ability to go into the nature, sit by yourself. Even if you cannot really go out, open the window and just look at the void and practice some moments of silence and sit by yourself. A key takeaway before we move into the questions, I think I'm good with the time. Wow, sharp. Mental toughness is not good and mental sensitivity is not bad. Without self-awareness, there are issues for everyone. Even for the mentally tough, they can put pressure on others and they can stretch themselves and reach a certain level of, a breakdown at some moments if they do not have self-awareness. So self-awareness and reflection are key. We all have strength and potential development if we know what these ones are. If we know what these are, we can optimize on those ones. Mentally tough and resilient people can help and influence people around them. So we can have a direct impact on our teams, on our family members, on our friends, on our colleagues that are really going to be impacted by the energy and by the behavior that we are exhibiting to lift them up. Now the time for the questions. And I will give 15 minutes for the questions. Let's have a quick look for the questions. Here we go. Did I get the questions? I do not have access to the questions. Let's see. Robin, I don't know if you can help me with this one because let's see.
Yes.
Okay, let's have a look. Okay, beautiful. I have lots of thank yous. Let's see the resources, please. Certainly, I think Robin will share the resources after that. Anyone who would like further reading, I'm happy as well to share with you. Please do get in touch with me. I will share my email afterwards if you do want to have further information about the topic. One question. I love this question. Thank you so much, Mace, for asking this question. To what extent do you think gender, culture, and age affect resilience and mental toughness? Thank you. Beautiful question, and it comes into the right time. Tomorrow we are celebrating, World Diversity Day. So thank you, Mace, for asking this question. There was many studies that done about a gender correlation between the mental toughness, and it has been found that female and male are equally mentally tough. However, in one component, there is a slight difference in the confidence level. So in the confidence level related to confidence in abilities, male have a higher level of confidence in abilities, whereas female, they have a higher level of interpersonal confidence, which makes really a balance between the two. So in terms of a gender difference, female and male are equally mentally tough according to the research that have been done. In terms of age, definitely with age and maturity and experiences and exposure, we get more mentally tough, as well as some culture have different aspects. For example, the norms have shown that in the Gulf region and in this area, there is a slight difference related, for example, to the commitment level. There was studies done as well on expats living abroad. So there is a slight difference when we are exposed to different type of life. So yes, there is a slight difference in terms of culture related to the different component. Thank you, Mace, for asking this question and allowing me to add into the topic. The next question, yeah, it's beautiful. Maimuna, thank you so much for asking for the pits and pets. This is another, kind of exercise of kind of intervention we do during coaching and during cognitive behavioral coaching as well, where we help people change their pits into pets. What is pits? It's an acronym for performance interfering thoughts, and pets is performance enhancing thoughts. Let me give you a small example. For example, if Maimuna, you are going, let's say, to a meeting or you're going to a presentation, if your thoughts start telling you that, oh my God, I'm going to have a blackout, I'm not going to be able talking, they're not going to love my presentation, all of these thoughts are pits, which are performance interfering thoughts. They interfere with your performance. Therefore, when you're going to go and perform, your thoughts are going to impact your behavior. So we try to help individuals develop this mechanism to change these thoughts into performance enhancing thoughts. So instead you would be thinking, I prepared very well. I know my material. I have studied. I have done rehearsals. I'm going to go and I'm going to prove myself. And when you think this way, your thoughts are going to automatically impact your performance and you're going to present and ace this presentation, hopefully. I don't know if I actually answered your question and if it's clear. Another person for pets, thank you so much to Anastasia. Ivan, thank you. Could we have a list of further readings? Yes, and actually there are plenty of books. Mohammed, please get in touch. I can give you some, further reading to explore the topic. But I really encourage you to look at, the background of this. There are plenty of books, even in Arabic, translated into Arabic about mental toughness. I'll share with you the resources. Thank you so much, everyone, as well. Laila, she asked, how can we relate mental toughness with growth mindset? Beautiful question. I really link the growth mindset here into, the learning orientation. People who are open for new learning, people who accept challenge are people who have a growth mindset, and this is how it's related to growth mindset. Let me see after the next question. Where can I find the appropriate practices to enhance well-being and build resilience for my students? Iman, I believe you are a teacher, so let me tell you, we use mental toughness as well with schools a lot. Because there was plenty of studies that were done related to dropout levels, especially in the UK. I'm happy to share with you as well further reading offline. I'll share it via email if you get in touch. Mace, thank you too. Elaine, I'm happy that you clarified. Maimouna, I think your question have been answered. Can we have another webinar with you? I would love to. We have planned, hopefully in the future, with the LAU Continuous Education to conduct mental toughness development program. We actually developed and designed a program of 2 days. It's on pending now, but I'm very happy for you to get in touch if you need further information of whatsoever. Appropriate practices, where are we? How can one increase their self-confidence, knowing that they actually know they have the ability but lack the confidence? This can be done, Maya, through a lot of different, techniques, through a lot of different practices. Having a coach that will help you to improve your confidence. Looking at your areas of strength. This is a very simple technique that we always forget to do. People immediately, when they want to develop, where do they go? Straight to look at what they are missing. Imagine, Maya, you are building a building. When you are going to build a building, what do you make sure? That the pillars are strong. So this is why when you want to build yourself or develop yourself, the first thing you need to do is to look at your strengths and identify them. Write them down. Remind yourself of these strengths. If you don't know them, ask people around you. What do you think are my strengths? Ask the people that you trust. Once you figure out your strengths, you then start looking at the gaps. This is the person I want to become. This is the person I am now. These are my strengths. These are my pillars. What am I going to do to fill this gap? And identify these things that are stopping you from being the best version of yourself. I mean, this is a long process. This is a long discussion, but briefly, this is a simple exercise that you can actually do. And discipline yourself. Discipline yourself to read, discipline yourself to develop, discipline yourself to do whatever you want. Without discipline, we cannot get anywhere. Some people as well, they immediately started strengthening their health immunity, their body immunity. So they started taking vitamin, they started eating well. Our mental health is as important as our physical health. And it has a direct impact on our body. So if our mental health is not okay, it can impact our health. So it's not a one-time off process. We need continuously to work on our mental health. And we go through a roller coasters of emotions. Now we're going through emotions we haven't felt before. Yesterday, I give you a simple example. I went to the school of the kids to collect their belongings, right? Because school has, they're never going to return to school. The sadness I felt inside my heart when I was in the car is unexplainable. And you know, it was like a feeling very weird. How come the kids are not going to go to work, to school anymore? They're not going to have the end of school. My 15 years old was supposed to have, you know, brevet this year, and she's not going to do it. So all of these emotions really invaded me. Immediately, with a reflex, because I trained myself to do, immediately I started practicing positive thoughts, thinking immediately that my kids are healthy, they are doing really well at school, despite being at home, we are all under one roof together. So immediately these thoughts help me to erase this negativity or these overwhelming feeling. And we need to train ourselves to reach this point. And it doesn't happen in one day. It's practice, practice, practice until you actually master it. I don't know, where are we now? I think we covered all the questions, Robin, and we still have 5 minutes. I will let you maybe wrap up in these 5 minutes. I was very happy to share with you, although it was really compressed. I can talk about this topic forever. Please do not hesitate to get in touch with me. These are my contact details. And once again, thank you so much. It was really an honor and a privilege to share with you this, especially with the Lebanese community. And I'm looking forward for more exciting projects with the LAU.
Maya, sorry, thank you على حماسك واندفاعك. I have a feeling you're probably willing to go for another 2 or 3 hours. يعني إذا by midnight, we will get to sleep. So thank you for this wonderful session for the past hour or so. Unless anybody else, guys, has any questions, we'll probably be calling it a day at 4:56. So one of the very few times we're finishing a little bit early. Nonetheless, I would also want to remind you, tomorrow, guys, we have a session by faculty from the School of Nursing, specifically Anna, Mrs. Mira Abisad and Mr. Joel Kharma, who will be talking about healthy eating habits, healthy lifestyle among pregnant and lactating women as well during the COVID-19 pandemic. So that will be for tomorrow, in addition to talks that will go through all the way to on Friday. بيرجع next week, and there's my phone ringing now بعد ما خلصنا. هيدا شربل. And Maya, do you have any other questions, anything you would like to finish up with, or shall we call it a day?
That's it for me. We'll call it a day. This is my last webinar for this week. It was an intensive week of webinars. I'm happy to close it on this positive notes, and I wish you all health and safety, and take care. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Eli. Nada, you were just asking how can we follow the webinars. Nada, the webinars are happening every day at 4 o'clock from 4 till 5. Just like you registered for this one, you can go ahead and register for the other webinars as well. يعني عنا tomorrow, عنا Friday, بيرجع عنا all of next week as well. Keeping in mind, next week we also have a mini surprise in that on one of the days we may be having 2 sessions. That is probably to be confirmed by Sharbil. Probably he confirmed it already, but أنا يمكن شوي ضايع. Okay, so hopefully I answered you, Nada, on that one. Is it posted at the LAU website? نحن we're planning, Nada, إنه by the end of the entire webinar series to try to either have a link to all the webinars that we have presented, أو بركي بنحطهم على LAU YouTube channel as well. Okay, so I can give you more details on that in the webinars coming up soon. And tomorrow, مثل ما قلت لكم, healthy eating habits مع our faculty from the School of Nursing. وبيرجع all of next week كمان مثل ما وعدتكم last or earlier this week أو towards the end of last week نسينا يمكن أيمت قلت لكم our topics are going to be suddenly a little bit different as well. إذا بتحبوا معنا a couple of minutes just to note what are some of the topics. يمكن on Monday next week بدنا نحكي عن electronic cigarettes, separating the myth from the facts. That's from the perspective of an MD. We're going to talk about strokes and the burden of strokes in Lebanon. يعني النوبات القلبية بدنا نحكي عنهم بطريقة مفصلة. Hopefully our physicians will help us to identify كيف or أي متى ممكن شخص يكون is about to have a stroke. That will actually be quite helpful in saving lives as well from the comfort of our homes. Children on screens, هيدي مثل ما سبق قلت لكم مش بس اولادنا بيعانوا منها، هاي البروبلم لنا كلنا، يعني مني وجر كلنا مدرنا قاعدين على التليفونات تبعنا. So that's a problem we can discuss as well. Don't let the sun get under your skin. That's most probably going to be dealing with the effects of the sun on our skin, but obviously not the effects that we are regularly acquainted with. But we're going to have the perspective of a physician as well on this matter, or a nurse on this matter. Finally, we will finish up with the impact of nurses on healthcare economics. So we're going to talk about health and economics. That should be interesting by itself. So in the meantime, guys, I hope you have a lovely evening. Maya, once again, thank you. Thank you for everybody. And
Thank you too.
as well.
Bye-bye. Take care.
At around 4.